For our notes today, we are going to talk about multi-step equations. All right, and there's different kinds of multi-step equations. We're going to do a specific kind today that we'll go over in a second. So multi-step equations. Okay, and so for highlighting, let's go with like a blue today. Maybe a purple. Let's highlight with purple today. Okay, and maybe in the background you guys might hear Mr. Ade while he's teaching his other class. All right, so today is this date for me. Whatever date is for you, go ahead and write that in. Okay, so our objective for today is I can solve multi-step equations with variables on one side by simplifying and isolating my variable. Okay, I can solve multi-step equations with variables on one side by simplifying and isolating my variables. And that simplifying and isolating piece is really important. Okay, simplifying and isolating. Those are the really important pieces that we need to focus on. Okay, so before we start our solving, let's write down the actual steps we have so that we can then go on and use those steps to solve. Okay, so the first step is when I look at my equation, I need to draw my line down the equal sign, right? We always draw our line down the equal sign. So if you need to remind yourself, we always draw our line, okay? After we do that, we want to find our variable and use the distributive property if we need to. So I'm going to write distribute if needed. Maybe we need to, maybe we don't. Okay? After I use the distributive property, I'm going to look at my equation again, and I'm going to combine like terms if we need to. Only if we need to. Okay? And then I'm going to solve the remaining equation by isolating the variable. Okay? So those are our steps. Okay? So now that we know our steps, let's practice on some examples. I'm going to write examples. Okay? We'll do a couple together, and then you guys will do a couple on your own for your notes today. So examples, I'm going to keep my steps so you guys can see them. Example number 1. All right, let's write 2x minus 8x plus 1 equals 49. Okay, that is our first example. Now remember, our first step is to draw a line. So I'm going to use my first step to draw my line down the equal sign. Okay? My second step is distribute if I need to. Now I only need to distribute if I see parentheses, like something like this. Okay? I don't see any parentheses anywhere in this equation, so I do not need to distribute right now. Okay? So I'm going to move on to step 3, which is combine like terms if needed. So remember, like terms are like when we see something like this. So if I look at my equation, I actually see like terms right here and right here. So I need to combine those. 2x minus 8x combined is negative 6x. Okay? So now that I know that, I'm going to bring down the rest of my equation. All right? Now I can move on to step number 4, which is to solve the rest of this equation just like we've been solving before. All right? So before, we had to get our x all alone. All right? So I'm going to first get rid of this plus 1. And I'm going to do minus 1 because that's the opposite. And anything I do on one side, I have to do to the other. Okay? After I do that, I have negative 6x left over on the left side and 48 left over on the right side because 49 minus 1 is 48. And then my x is still not alone, so I need to get rid of the negative 6 by dividing by negative 6. I'm going to divide by negative 6. And when I do that, these cancel out. I have x equals 48 divided by negative 6 is negative 8. And that is my final answer. That is my final answer. Okay? However, let's try another example to kind of help us with this a little bit. Okay? Let's do one more example. I'll do it underneath it. Okay, so example number 2 is going to be 5y minus 2 minus 7y, I don't know if you guys can hear my cat outside, equals negative 32. I locked him out there so he doesn't bother me when I'm doing my notes. All right, so let's go through our steps again. Step number 1, let me do this in another color, let's do blue, is draw my line. Okay, so I'm going to draw my line right here. Okay, that's done. Step number 2 is distribute if needed. I see parentheses right here, so I do need to distribute. So when I use the distributive property, I'm taking the 5 and sharing it with the y. So 5 times y is 5y. And then I take the 5 and I share it with the negative 2. And 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. That's it. All right, now I'm going to bring down the rest of my equation. Okay? All right. Now the third step, so I'm going to scroll up again. The third step says combine like terms if needed. If needed. Let's look. I do have like terms. I have one right here. I have another one right here. 5y minus 7y is negative 2y. And then I bring down everything left over. So this negative 10 is left over here. This negative 32 is left over here. Okay? And then step 4 is to just solve this equation like any other equation I've been solving all year. Okay? So I'm going to do, I need to get the y all by itself. So my y is right here. My y needs to be alone, so I have to get rid of those other two numbers. So I'm going to get rid of the negative 10 first. And the opposite of a negative 10 is positive 10. And anything I do on one side, I do to the other. Let's see what we're left with now. On the left side, I should have negative 2y only left over. On the right side, negative 32 plus 10 is negative 22. Okay? I'm not done because my y is still not alone. So to get rid of the negative 2, I'm going to divide by negative 2. Okay? Let's see what that leaves us with. These cancel out. I have y equals negative 22 divided by negative 2 is positive 11. So I'm left with positive 11 as my answer. All right. So those are the examples that we are going to do together. Now, I want you guys to do some practice problems on your own. So I'm going to go to the next page, but I don't know if you guys have space. You can stay on this page. But I want you guys to do some practice problems on your own. And then we can go over this together in class to see if you guys got it correct or not. Okay? So practice problems. Let's see which ones I want to give you guys. So we're going to do number 1 is going to be 10 minus 5w plus 9w minus 7 equals 19. That'll be one of your problems. Then we will do 7x minus 6 equals negative 14. And we'll do one more. Number 3, let's make this a little more complicated. Let's do 7 3k minus 2 minus 13k equals 82. All right, those are your 3 practice problems. Go ahead and pause this video, complete the problems, and then unpause to see the answers. I'm not going to show you the work, but I do want you to check your answers. And if you get it wrong, we can go over it, but you need to show all of your work to get credit. All right, go ahead and pause the video. I'll tell you the answers in a second. Okay, I'm going to give you guys the answers now. For number 1, you should have gotten w equals 4. For number 2, you should have gotten x equals 4. And for number 3, you should have gotten k equals 12. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask us, but that is your notes for the day.